r/no sleep. Posted by Reddit user RichardSaxon. We have been stationed on the moon since 1988. There's a reason it's been kept a secret. Part 2. We tied the injured crewman to our buggy, making sure he didn't slip off as we sped back to the base. "What do you mean? How can they be here already?" John asked over the radio. No response. "Ares!" Driving on the moon wasn't an easy task at high speeds. With the craters, it was a bumpy ride, and the ever-present dust increased the risk of sliding as we maneuvered towards the base. "Buggy Zealot, we're initiating lockdown. Hangar 2 will remain open until you arrive, but we're putting you onto quarantine." "Understood. We'll be there in 10 minutes. I nervously scanned the horizon, looking for any sign of movement. Whatever creatures had been inside those pods had killed the entire crew aboard Pod Station 12. We saw more of them on the way. Each of them were diamond-shaped, obsidian-black containers made out of bizarrely shiny material. They were covered in blister-like sacs, mostly ruptured, but some still intact, pulsating and twitching. They looked almost wet, but any liquid should have evaporated immediately as it hit the harsh vacuum of space. We parked the buggy outside the hangar and lifted Frederick into one of the service airlocks. On the inside, we were met with the blaring sound of an alarm and a set of isolated capsules for each of us. On the other side of the airlock stood my supervisor. "We're gonna need you all to get inside the capsules while we decontaminate the room," he ordered nervously. Lance Henderson was an abnormally calm individual, even at the most stressful of times, so to see him on the brink of panic alerted me to the true gravity of the situation. "Lance, is it true? Are they really here?" He nodded somberly. Not a word more needed to be said. I knew then that the next couple of days would decide the fate for not only us, but the rest of humanity. After we put ourselves into the isolation capsules, they prepared to move us to the medical bay. "Do we have any footage from the pod stations?" Lance shook his head. "Most of it got corrupted after the pods appeared on the moon's surface. We're trying to restore it, but I'm not too hopeful. I'll let you know as soon as we find anything," he said. "I'll link up with you soon. Just do as the medics tell you." The medics carried my security team and I to an isolated room. Frederick, who had sustained serious injuries to his neck, was put in a separate room next to us. It was a research facility, which meant it had glass walls for observation. There was no privacy as we got undressed and changed into sterile clothing. "You better tie him up. He's not himself," John said as the medics put Frederick in bed. By the time we'd been put into quarantine, the entirety of Ares had been put into complete lockdown. Anyone still outside the main base were on their own. Behind the glass walls, we could see crew members rush around in panic, each trying to fulfill their duties at record pace. All the while, alarms kept blaring. Orders were shouted through the speaker systems, and we could do nothing but wait, uselessly stuck in isolation. Lance called me over to the radio, briefing me on the situation. "Rick, we'll have your test results in an hour or so. In the meantime, we're trying to establish contact with anyone outside the main base. If they're still alive out there, we need to figure out a safe way to bring them inside." "Has anyone responded?" "No, but we've detected multiple heat signatures on the surface. A few of them match the crew's transponders, but..." He trailed off. "But what?" "There are too many of them. We don't have that many people stationed on the moon." "It's them," I said, my voice filled with premature defeat. "Yeah, we've recovered some of the footage from Station 12. I'll send you the files." I turned to the computer mounted on the wall and typed in my credentials. A single video file had been uploaded to my profile. A few minutes of salvaged footage. I hit play and prepared myself for the worst. What greeted us was an overhead view of Station 12's interior, only an hour before we entered. The crew relaxed in their leisure area, joking around and waiting for their shift to end. I immediately recognized Frederick standing in the corner, oddly quiet. He seemed to concentrate on something not visible to the camera. "Hey, do you guys hear that?" he asked. The crew fell silent, and all of them listened intently to their quiet surroundings. "Hear what?" "I don't know, it sounds like..." Without even finishing his sentence, Frederick grabbed a pen from a nearby table and started stabbing himself in the neck. Blood gushed out from the wound, and the crew members immediately rushed to pin him down. "What the hell are you doing? Stop that! Let me go! I need to do this!" Frederick yelled in protest. "Get the damn zip ties! Boss, there's something outside. What are you talking about?" After tying Frederick to the wall, the crew gathered to stare out the minuscule window, all of them in shock from what they saw. After a minute of disbelief, their boss grabbed the radio to alert Ares of the unidentified object. "Ares, this is Paul Station 12. We found something on the moon's surface. I don't think it's of lunar origin." In response, only static could be heard. "Fuck! The radio's cutting out. Robbie, would you check the connection?" Without responding, the crewman walked over to his boss and stabbed him with a screwdriver. One of the others lifted his weapon in a hopeless attempt to de-escalate the situation. "Drop the fucking screwdriver," he ordered. But instead of helping, he turned his weapon on himself. Looking confused, and without hesitation, he shot his own leg. The rest of the crew scattered in disarray, some trying to help their boss while others wanted to grab the gun from their coworker. The man with the screwdriver had already killed his boss, and had turned his attention to himself. He proceeded to repeatedly stab his own abdomen, crying as he did it. One by one, they all fell to the same insanity. Within only a few minutes, every single crew member had succumbed to their wounds, all save for Frederick, who had been tied up to the wall, just in time to save his life. The footage cut off abruptly, and we all stood, speechless in front of the empty screen. "What about the other stations?" John asked. "Do we really want to witness that again?" As we discussed the undeniable reality of the oncoming invasion, we started hearing groans coming from Frederick's room. He was waking up, luckily tied to the bed. "Where am I?" he asked. "You're safe, Frederick. The doc's on his way. Just stay calm." "Oh, fuck. They're all dead," he sulked. "We should have gave him more sedatives," John said. "Where's the damn doc?" Ares' head physician was a neuroscientist of advancing age. The rookie, Daniel, would be his new apprentice. By the time the doc eventually retired, he'd take over, specifically chosen for the job. They both arrived alongside Jennifer a few minutes later. We told him what had happened, and he suited up to go inside to examine Frederick. Lance finally returned after patrolling the area. He'd locked down the entirety of our section and put guards on each airlock, should something break through. Staff was scarce, but each employee, guard or scientist, had been trained to deal with a situation like this. "Dr. Livingston, have they briefed you on the patient?" Lance asked. "Yes, I'm well aware of the situation," he stated matter-of-factly. "Daniel, join me inside. We're gonna have to cut your training short. I have always thought of hands-on experience worked best anyway." Together, they entered the isolated room. Jennifer stood guard outside, ready to intervene should Frederick fall into psychosis once again. What followed was a barrage of uncomfortable but necessary questions. Frederick, who'd attempted to kill himself only hours earlier, was undoubtedly shook from the experience, but whatever trance he'd been in had long since passed. Halfway through the examination, another alarm sounded through the base. "Atmospheric breach in Section 9. All personnel must evacuate the area immediately." Lance immediately reached for his radio, demanding an explanation. "Section 9, this is Security Chief Henderson. What the hell is going on?" "Someone just blew up one of the fucking airlocks," a voice screamed from the other side. "They took explosives from the factory." "Who?" "I don't fucking know. We tracked the transponder from POS Station 7. We tried contacting them over the radio, but he ignored us." "Is the breach sealed?" Lance asked. "Yeah, but half my team died in the vacuum. The rest of us are about to suit up in case the seal falls, but I don't know." He paused. A loud hammering noise could be heard through the radio. "Oh my god, they're coming in through the seal. Everybody get the hell..." What followed was a vague crashing sound before the call got interrupted. "Damn it. I've got to go. Jennifer, stay here and help the doc," Lance said. "Absolutely not. I'm coming with you. They'll need all the help they can get," she argued. "And what about us?" I asked. Sorry, Rick. You have to stay in isolation until the tests come back. Don't worry. They'll come let you out ASAP. The two of them rushed down the long hallways towards Section 9, while we remained trapped with no chance to help. Daniel and Dr. Livingston finished examining Frederick and called for our test to be rushed through. 20 agonizing minutes passed as we waited for any updates on the situation. The occasional bang was the only thing keeping us company, as it echoed through the outer halls of Ares. Over the radio, I could hear requests for additional security coming from various sections around Ares. It was a call no one had the capacity to answer, and I felt utterly useless, stuck in isolation. Then we heard the sound of multiple footsteps rushing down the hall. "Stay with me," Jennifer shouted. They rushed past us, carrying 2 stretchers. On one of them lay Lance, bleeding profusely from multiple gunshot wounds to his abdomen. "Jennifer, what happened?" I asked in shock. She ignored me, and they brought the injured crew into a separate room. Though we couldn't directly see them, we could hear the utter horror in their voices as they futilely tried to stop the bleeding. It was a hopeless case, and from prior experience, I knew Lance wouldn't make it. Only minutes later, he had bled out. Jennifer came over to our room, staring at me through the glass. Her eyes were red from a mixture of panic and despair. "Jen, is he dead? I killed him," she stuttered. "You did what?" He just went crazy," she continued. "We were investigating that broken seal. Even with the hull secured, something got through. Every single person who hadn't gotten out of Section 9 died instantly." "How many?" 37. Jesus Christ. She sobbed for a moment before continuing, her blood-covered hands visibly shaken from the ordeal. "As we suited up, Lance said he heard something. I'd already gotten my helmet on, and I couldn't hear what he was talking about. But then he just..." Another loud bang could be heard, followed by an alarm. Whatever things were killing our people, they were getting into the station. "He shot others, point blank, and he would have killed me too. I didn't have a choice. I had to defend myself. I only wanted to stop him, but the first bullet didn't even faze him. I just kept pulling the trigger until he dropped his weapon. I killed him. It was me. I'm sorry. So sorry." We didn't get a chance to continue the conversation before the medics came in to let us out. Even without conclusive test results, we had been ordered to evacuate the area. The entire crew aboard Ares were pulling back into Section 5, the central and most secure hub of the station. "They're closing all the doors in 5 minutes. We've got to go now," one of them ordered. With no time to suit up, we started rushing towards Section 5, ready to fight whatever creatures had entered the station. I just don't understand. They weren't supposed to be here for another 5 years. How is it possible?" Jennifer asked. "No idea. It doesn't make any sense." On our way, we passed numerous lockdown sections, all breached and their atmosphere replaced by the empty vacuum housing little more than dust and the corpses of our deceased crew. Multiple distress calls emitted from my radio, but we could do nothing to help any of them. All we could do was hope that as many people as possible made it to Section 5, where we'd organize a fight against the invaders. "Rick, you there? Please, respond," a voice said over the radio. I recognized the voice. It belonged to one of the senior security guards, Brandon Clifford. "I'm here. We're en route to Section 5. Are you safe?" Forget Section 5. We need you and the doc to come to the main lab immediately." "The lab? Why?" He paused for a moment, letting out half a chuckle. "We got one of them."